Comics Coffee Metal Podcast, episode 175.
Greetings and welcome to the Comics Coffee Metal Podcast. Today I am rejoined by almost a year to the day, I think.
It's very close to a year,
since his last appearance. But I'm pleased to have back on the program Brendan Albetsky. Brendan, welcome back.
Thank you very much for having me again, Don. It's great to be back. I'm once again using my quiet inside voice tonight. It's a little bit late in the day for my time zone, but that's fine. I'm happy to be able to get on with you and talk about some stuff. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Last time you were speaking about MARU, KIRU, Destroy the Moon, and you got a kind of a remastered version, I think, as you said, of the first volume, First Heresy.
The last time I was here, we were talking about the issue 1 of the Chosen Ones arc, which is the second story arc in the series. So this is the first story arc of the series, First Heresy, which didn't have a name when I was first doing it. I kind of established the story arc, the idea of doing it by arc, by named arc, when I started doing the Chosen Ones, and so I kind of had to reverse engineer that format back onto the first 10 chapters. But yeah, this was a project that I kind of started early this year in February. I had been thinking for a long time about wanting to do a remaster of my early comics, and I was kind of timid about doing that just because I didn't want to George Lucas it, so to speak. But I really reached a point where I was going back and reading the old comics, and I was just like, the lettering alone is just so egregious to me now. It's 7 years ago that I started working on the comic, and there are so many things that it's just like if future me could go back and give just a little bit of advice to past me, these are the things I would do differently. And that's kind of the spirit that I walked into it with. So it started out just being, I'm going to re-letter it. And then it kind of became a little bit more than that, quite a bit more than that, actually. The line art remained largely intact, 99%. But I changed, I recolored the whole comic. I re-lettered the whole comic. In a lot of cases, I changed it so that pages are better formatted for printing. I had a lot of things when I was first back in the webcomic days, the big 2-page spreads where the point of interest is like right on the fold. So I moved some things around creatively just to frame them better, make them look better on the printed page. And I'm just super thrilled with how it came out. And everybody I've showed it to and has gotten a chance to read it has said similar things to me, that it's just a major uptick. And for me personally, going out and being able to speak with, a full level of pride about my early comics, and just, to revisit that and say that, hey, there's a lot of really, really solid fundamentals that I was doing even back then, that I was just kind of not confident enough to rely on. So, a lot of the remaster process was honestly about stripping out the bullshit that I had layered on top of things to try to hide faults that weren't even really faults, honestly. So the comic is much stronger for it, and it's now all of the first 10 chapters in a single volume. It's a complete story arc, and it puts me in a great position to continue pushing the story forward on the Chosen Ones arc as well. So it's just a lot to be excited about for the comic in general.
For sure. Normally, when we start this show, I want to, ask you Comic Coffee Metal. What are you doing?
I kind of steamrolled with this one. Yeah, sorry.
But no, I'm happy to switch it up because, one, you are a returning guest, and two, I am also fascinated with the concept of just like going back at your previous work and like, tweaking it and kind of making it more, at least like fixing the obvious things, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
The things like, okay, this, I am just like palpably better at XYZ. Let me do that so that way it's not such a huge disparity between this and the current work and all that. What is the time difference between, you reworking it now and when it was actually done?
I started it in 2019. I think that the pages that actually made it into the book didn't start cooking until 2020. I really have to go back and look through the original files because the timeline to me is kind of fuzzy over the years. But yeah, it's been a few years.
There's that temptation always to let's like kind of go back, and I look, do look back at my previous work from 5-10 years ago, and sometimes, you know, I'm pleasantly surprised, like, oh, I wasn't complete trash.
Right.
And then other times I'm like, oof, Don, that page.
There's a couple moments where you just go, oh no, but yeah,
you know, it's literally that Home Alone meme where I'm looking at the page though, I'm like, Don, your art. Woof. Anyway, but it is tempting for me to like want to go back and like fix like the real obviously like messed up things. But you know, for me personally though, like the stories that I would be doing that to, they're done. Like
that's the other thing is because
you're continuing your series, like and this is kind of like your epic. So like, you know, I fully get, support, and understand the concept of like, you know what, let me make sure it's all, like you said, more cohesive. Like it feels more like one big unit of things, as opposed to like, you know, seeing the growth process as clearly as you know, previous work to current work tends to show.
Well, the silliest thing about it is that when I started doing it in 2019, you know, because I feel like the fairly common piece of advice that you get is when you're starting making comics, don't start on your epic right away. You know, do shorter things first and build up to it. But back in 2019, I really sincerely believed that, you know, this is as good as I'm going to get as an artist. So this is, you know, now's the time to start this big story. And you know, I just don't think that's ever going to be true, right? As long as you're a working artist and you're doing it every day or on a regular basis, you're going to continue to improve. And you're really never going to have that perfect moment to like, this is the point where everything's going to look the same from here on out. It's just so difficult to gauge. But with something like this, you know, like you said, there were really kind of really obvious things to me. The lettering was like the most specific thing that was really obvious to me, something that needed to be improved for legibility. But it was really important to me that it was not a redraw. It was a remaster of the existing artwork. So like I said, I left all of the ink work, the line art. I added some spot blacks, but the line art and kind of the composition of all the pages remains, like I said, 99% the same to what it was in the original releases. The only time I changed anything was if it was being cut off in trim and bleed, or if it was on the fold. And just to make it so that it is a solid and smooth reading experience all the way through. And you know, again, it's borne out in not just the experience for the reader, but the experience for me as the artist and the writer. Now pitching it to people, I'm much more confident and comfortable at telling people like, yeah, no, this is the place you want to start. This is the place if you want to get into the comic. This is the, you know, bite off the big chunk, get into it. I was at Dragon's Realm Comic-Con in Danbury a couple weeks ago, and I was impressing myself with how easily I was able to kind of talk about the comic and talk people into it and be like, you know, because I had some guy, because I have the second story arc can theoretically be considered a jumping on point. But you're going to miss stuff, right? So I had a guy, because it's a $30 book versus a $5 book. And it's that moment where it's just like, you really want to start with the big one. I know it's a bigger ask, but it's like, you're not going to regret it if you go with the big one. So, that's something that I was always kind of trepidatious about in the past, because I'm like, I want people to see my new best work, not necessarily stuff that I was doing 7 years ago. But now it's like it's all great now.
Nice. Well, you know, just in case anyone who's listening isn't familiar, you know, and you know, didn't listen to the last episode, hasn't checked out the book before, what is MARU KIRU Destroy the Moon?
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up the actual marketing page that I made for it, because I don't want to ramble, and sometimes I do that.
I totally flub like pitching my own book to people.
Oh yeah,
if my brain doesn't access the script I already have them set for it, like it just goes off the rails so fast.
Absolutely, yeah. So no, and if people are interested in kind of going at a slower pace and not just listening to me talk about it, you can go to my website and you can go to the MARU KIRU Comics tab, and it'll give you kind of the whole overview of the whole series, and you know, places to buy the book and all that stuff. But it's a really high octane, colorful, bombastic, weird fantasy sci-fi adventure comic. It stars MARU KIRU, who's the titular character, who's on the cover of the book. She's on a quest to blow up the moon. It's a revenge quest. The kind of particulars and the reasoning behind that is something that kind of unfolds throughout the story, so you're going to be a little bit in the dark as we start, but it's the intrigue that keeps you going. But there is a cult of the moon who worships a god named Godusar, who lives astride the moon, and they have ruled over the planet Toth for the last 1,000 years. Golusar usurped the 7 sorcerer kings that used to rule Toth and stole the living magic from the heart of the planet, ripped it out, and put it all on the moon, and now he controls all the magical energies of this binary system of the planet and the moon. And so he meets out the magical power through his high wizard priest, Manotatus, who's the primary personal antagonist of the book, guy with a big horned helmet, likes to shout. And he kind of rules the world with an iron fist. He's a callous and, but charismatic demagogue who people, for whatever reason, kind of want to please and flock to and kneel before, because he'll dole out scraps of power to them. But MARU KIRU is had enough of this shit, and the comic starts with her climbing Manotatus's mountain temple to run him through with a sword, which she does in the first chapter. But he doesn't die, so that becomes a big problem for her. So yeah, that's kind of that's how it all gets started, and that's the beginning of this book, First Heresy, and then it just gets crazier from there. Nice. And the comic is, of course, still going on now.
Yeah, awesome. I did, last time we spoke, you did send me the original version.
Yes,
I believe, and then what you had with the Chosen Ones and all that, and it is just such a fun book, but it's also got like a lot of, it's that type of book where it's like you don't realize like how much depth there is going on to the characters and the stuff that's happening immediately, because you're just having so much fun with it.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love a big, strong, angry lady with sword?
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
how does that not appeal to like 99% of the masses? But behind that, there's a lot of really great character work and stuff like that going on in there. And I tried to listen back to our previous podcast. So I don't want to repeat any questions and all that, but I didn't get a chance to finish it through. So forgive me if this is repeat questions or whatever.
No, it's fine.
It's been a year, maybe.
Yeah. Who's gonna know?
Who's gonna know? No one's gonna know. How are they gonna know? They're gonna go back and listen to it? Oh no,
they could do that. They probably should.
They could.
Yeah,
let me know. Yeah, bump up the views.
Yeah, the views. Go back, compare and contrast, run them both in parallel windows.
Yeah, just run them all day. Just let me know. Let me know. But like when it comes to the designs and all that, especially with MARU KIRU and all that, what were your primary inspirations for the kind of for the look?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a ton of things over the years, and I feel like my story changes a little bit every time that I talk about it, because there's just so many kind of things that influence it.
You kind of realize like, oh wait, yeah, that too was part of that.
Yeah, that's like this was also a thing. But visually, at the time, I had recently discovered JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and the various works of Hirohiko Araki. So I was watching Diamond Is Unbreakable while I was working on kind of the original MARU KIRU comics, and this was what got me really wanting to, just because I was doing black and white comics for a long time at the time. I didn't feel like I had the skill to do color. And watching the JoJo anime made me want to give color another shot, because everything in that's just so vibrant, and that was so popular and well received that I was like, okay, maybe something that looks like that could be cool. And so that's what really got me wanting to do in the big heavy saturated neon colors and stuff that I still use a lot of even now. But in terms of the design of the character, I actually had somebody on the webcomic site, because I do have a webcomic site for it that's hosted by Comic Fury, and you can reach it through my website as well. So again, you go to that MARU KIRU Comics tab and get all the information you need. But I had somebody on the webcomic on the most recent page, or I think it was the most recent page, at time of recording. So it's been a couple weeks, but left the comment that said, she's a female Conan. And that's literally the first time anybody has ever said that to me. And it's 100% correct. I am a huge fan of Arnie in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer in those movies. And when I initially, when the character became kind of the modern form that she is, because she started out a little bit differently. If you saw some of like the back material of the old publication, she didn't have the long purple hair, and she had a cape, and it was different. But when she kind of reached her first modern incarnation, it was like, yeah, it was really heavily based on Arnie and on Conan. And so, yeah, she's, got a very top heavy kind of triangular, reverse triangle shape. Very upper body heavy, and I wanted to, it's a strong character, and you want to see that immediately when you look at her. And she's over the top, and she's, bombastic, and there are other people in the comic that are just, ridiculously yoked, even beyond what she's got going on. But she's definitely, like, you look at her and you go like, that is, that's a strength character, right? She's somebody who's going to hit you very hard. And that's kind of her surface level thing. And then, as you said, there's more going on underneath as the comic gets more deeper and deeper, and kind of discovering magical powers in those first couple chapters that intensify as the book goes on. So yeah, I mean, there's such a pure, joyful level of the idea of buff wizards screaming at each other, which was something that I used to say a lot when I was pitching the early things of the comic. That first chapter is just Maru and Manutatas screaming their heads off at each other, and flailing around and flexing and whatnot. And again, it's like that's kind of the surface level thing, and then there's more going on as you go down. But that Conan thing really hit me, because I that's something that I've always had as an inspiration for the comic, and I've explained it to people a couple of times, and they go like, oh yeah, I see it. But that's the first time that somebody has just come out of the blue and been like, oh yeah, that's like a Conan thing, right? And I'm like, yeah, it is actually. So that's awesome. Yeah, that's the origin story I'll give this time. check last year's episode to see what I said last time. I don't know, but there's a lot going on,
Yeah. Well, there's always, again, like I said, the more you delve in, the more you work with characters, the more you work on their stories and all that, the more you kind of realize, like, oh, this is what I was working with back then, as you go forward with things. And it happened to me in my book. It happened, you discover things that were an inspiration that you just were subconsciously there, I guess, but you just didn't realize it at the time. So,
well, the other thing that I have to mention that is remained consistent throughout my entire remembering of how this came about is the hair. It came about in the post-COVID years, or the beginning of the lockdown years. We didn't get haircuts for the longest time. My wife just got ridiculously long hair, and it was like, wouldn't it be, because I wanted her to have like a flowing cape-like element, and the cape just wasn't working for me. But I was like, oh, maybe the hair. But I was thinking the other day, because I drew this picture of my partner, my wife. She doesn't have purple hair in real life. It was just stylized, but that's my phone background. And we used to joke all the time about how, because she's like 5'1", and we used to joke all the time. It was just like, if she was 6 feet tall, she'd be absolutely unstoppable. And that's there's a little bit of that in there too. MARU KIRU, physical attributes I list as 6'3", 198 pounds. It's the same as Samus Aran. And that's a direct reference, because I used to do a lot of Metroid stuff, and I still do to a certain capacity. But yeah, I just remembered that the other day. I was like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of that in there too.
Well, as someone who's married to a fellow shorty, yeah, it is true. If she was 6 feet tall,
look out!
It'd be a whole different world.
Yeah, once that top shelf is in play, it's over.
My wife's Latina, so it's also, it's still, I'm still scared of her, but in a nice, healthy, loving way. But if she was taller than me, it would definitely be whatever you need, whatever you want, dear. But you mentioned the hair, and like there's this double page spread in the first volume where the hair is just super prominent. It's almost like clouds behind her, just this big holding thing. And it's just because I've been kind of scrolling through everything as you've been talking about it, and I'm like, that just popped up when you were talking about the hair, like serendipitously, but it's just like perfect. And it's funny you mentioned the Samus Aran thing, because I just recently, this is off topic of the book, but I just recently beat Super Metroid for the first time.
Oh wow! Congratulations! That's a
I never
experience.
I never had the game as a kid, but
Sure.
Since we got the Switch and all that, we were able to you can do some of the old classic games or stuff. So I was finally doing that, and working my way through a couple of the other ones. Was it the Zero Mission for the Advance, and then the original NES one, which just
good luck with that.
Yeah.
I don't like that one. I think it's not sacrilege to say you don't like the original Metroid.
I mean, if the first Metroid was supposed to be considered untouchable, they wouldn't have remade it like 4 times.
No, I feel like if somebody comes to you and they say like I played Super Metroid for the first time and I didn't really like it, I'm like that's heresy. But the first one is like there was all the NES games. There's some kinks to work out.
So no, but it's just funny that you mentioned that, just because it was one of those things where I love the game. The game was great.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of like I have to backtrack. When you have to backtrack through 15 different things and all that, but
maybe not the series for you then. Yeah.
No. Well, at that point, I'm like, just let me pull up some maps.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely.
I just do that, and a lot of it was just me. Yeah, a lot of it was also like, I don't need all the extra tanks and all this other stuff, but like, let me just go collect them anyway.
There's a certain satisfaction eating the 100% items. Yeah, definitely. You get different windscreen too. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do like a good Metroidvania. It's just I have to be in the mood for it, I guess.
Sure. No.
There were plenty of times. Thankfully, I was playing it on the SNES Classics on the Switch, so I was able to just kind of save it anywhere. When I was like, all right, I'm done for now.
I'm not above that. I'll do that. Yeah, I'm not.
I'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
But there's another one I've been playing that it's giving me the same vibes. It's called Guns of Fury.
I've heard of that.
It's a newer one. It's really fun. It's basically like an 80s action movie, but like, but in that style of like Metroid and all that, where you have the different levels, you got the power ups, and you have to backtrack using the power ups to get to further places, other places and all that other stuff. It is really fun, but it has also got that the vibe of it's like, oof, all right, I just had to like go through half the map to get back to this thing right now, and everyone responds. It's just like I'm tired.
Yeah, right.
I'll pick this up tomorrow. Now that I'm at the spot I need to be.
I've been playing Neon Inferno the past couple of days, which is kind of like a Contra like bullet hell kind of game. But again, very retro, and it's one of those games where it's like it's on the shorter side, but they lengthen it by making it incredibly difficult. So it's like you get locked into some of these things where you will reach. And I'm playing. There's an arcade mode where you put credits in, which I'm not playing, and there's a story mode where you get checkpoints, which is the one that I am playing. And some of these levels are just like you get all the way to the boss, and it's just like, I don't want to have to do the whole level again. I guess I'm going to do the boss, but after the 5th or 6th time, it's just like, oh god. But it's a lot of fun, if you're into that kind of thing. I've been trying to kind of move through indie games in the morning when I'm waking up before I get started, instead of anything to keep myself from scrolling anything in the morning. But I did that one that I'm doing now. I did Silly Polly Beast right before that, which was awesome. It's like a cool indie horror game. Very, very like it has kind of Silent Hill vibes to it in a lot of ways, but like from kind of a more cartoony, not quite like Jet Set Radio, but like a more punkish aesthetic to it. And then before that, I played Demon Tides, which is like a 3D platformer, a la like Mario, not quite like Mario, but Mario-ish. Yeah. It's but that was great too, and it's like I like all these indie games that are like 20 hours tops, 10 hours also is good. Things that I can kind of move through, so I can get a lot of variety. And a game that's like $15 or $20, or you grab it on sale and it's like $10, and it's
a
like,
nice
this
sweet
is
spot.
just nice, right? And I'm having fun.
Yeah.
I'm not worrying about if I spend $70 or $80 on something. It's a lot of pressure to be like, this better be the most fun I've ever had in my life, or I'm screwed. Totally. It's like, oh, I'm a comic artist, man. I don't have that kind of cash to be throwing around like that.
I mean, I have found myself now just like going back and just trying to replay, or at least finish a lot of these older games that when I was a kid, maybe we rented, and since I was the youngest, my brothers dominated the play time of it or whatever, and so I didn't get a chance to do like that, like Super Metroid, whatever we did rent it or whatever, they would dominate it or whatever, and all that, or like the Mega Mans.
Sure.
I mean, I have a couple of little emulator handhelds and all that, so I made my way through Mega Man through X last year, but they actually had a sale of was it X through X4 or something like that, Mega Man X through X4, so for like $7 or something.
Oh yeah, you gotta get that. Like, yeah.
So I get that, and then but I forgot that as these games get, as the games, the X games have started, the Mega Man X games have started going, they get progressively tougher and harder.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh man, I am not a good gamer.
No, me either. Yeah. I have a friend who plays all the Mega Man games, and it's like, I'm perfectly content to sit on the couch and watch him struggle through. I mean, the hard, that kind of stress in my life.
Well, for me, the hardest part about Mega Man games is just getting past that first boss to get the first weapon.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like, okay. Then once I have the weapon that one of the other guys is weak against, then it's a lot easier, and you kind of make your way through it and all that. It's just like just doing the Buster only, just trying to get that and all that. So, but yeah, that's the stressful decompression that I've been drawn to lately.
That's like the weirdest thing, right? Is it's like, oh yeah, this is my relaxation time as I'm sitting here like, but it's good. It's like, it helps you unwind. I don't know. I don't tell you,
Yeah, exactly. And all that. And jumping off the topic of the retro games, but
sure,
real quick, have you drawn Samus before?
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen it. I'm just thinking like that'd be really awesome.
I've got 4. Well, actually, I'm sold out of one of them, but I've got my poster book that I take with me to shows, and I've got 4 Samuses in there, and I got some smaller ones too. And it's like, when I was first starting to do art on the internet, that was like the first thing that got me any kind of notice or recognition whatsoever, was doing Metroid stuff. And my friend Izzy, who I haven't talked to recently, which is a shame because she's a great artist too, but was putting together a big, you call it a zine, but it was a big old square bound thing for the 35th anniversary of Metroid, and I got to do the cover for that. Nice. And that was really cool. And actually, I did a comic for the inside as well. It was a 6-page silent comic that was a spoof on the Star Trek TOS Trouble with Tribbles episode, and it was just about Samus, and she knocked on the bulkhead and all the Metroids fall out. And I haven't. That's around somewhere. I should put that online again, because that was a fun.
It sounds hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm still. I still lurk on the Metroid Discord server, and I still run up against folks from that server, and a lot of great artists who do not just Metroid stuff, but other stuff too. Somebody there was a really cool Resident Evil. I gotta look. I edit out me searching for this, but I want to at least say the name of the person.
Well, I just mixing again, the retro game thing, calling it retro, whatever.
Yeah.
I am old, but I've been wanting to do more art with that kind of stuff, just because it seems like why don't I just have some fun while drawing, which as I'm sure you feel at times, it's just like have fun while drawing. No, I got too much stuff I got to do.
I mean, yeah, no, I have definitely been
just for fun
this year. Yeah, no, doing something just for fun is like, what is that? But no, I found this. They go by Low PG Arts online, and they did a really cool Resident Evil 30th anniversary comic this year. That was like a full issue comic that told not all of, but a good portion of the stories of Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 0 kind of side by side. So that was really cool. And you can check that out, I'm pretty sure, somewhere online. But yeah, get on that one. But that's somebody who I met on the Metroid art and discussion server. And again, it's people, they're really cool and they're really passionate about the games. And, they like to draw. They have their opinions about certain characters and whatnot. And I try to stay out of the political aspect of it because
which armor is the best armor, and
I mean it all comes down to Other M, and did you or did you not like Other M, and what do you think of Adam Malkovich? There's discourse around that, and people who like things like people who are big fans of any franchise be disagreements on things, but like I said, I try to stay out of that. I'm just here to draw the cool lady.
Like as someone who has probably far too many interests and has done deep dives into just like the communities and fandoms of those interests, from guitars to just metal to weightlifting to all this other stuff to comics, it's all the same in that there's the people who are dead set, like they have their hard no cross boundaries of this is what's right, this is what's good, and you're just wrong if that. And then the other people, so it's all the same. It's just hilarious to me. That's just like, because for the longest time, and I feel like comics fandom also kind of has like a little bit of a chip on its shoulder sometimes about like, oh, we're so passionate, and I'm like, listen, I'm one of you, but also we're not the only community who's incredibly fucking nerdy about what it is we love. It is if the internet has done nothing good in some aspects, is this that it's shown that to me, to where like people arguing about the type of wood a guitar is, the type of fret material that you have, what's the right string gauge to use, and that's not even talking about like tone in terms of amps, like just all that random stuff that comic people talk about with which run was better, whose art was better, and
we had a guy
why was this depiction of Spider-Man better than this, and was the Clone Saga really that bad? Like
we had a guy come by the table when we were in Danbury, and this guy talked for a very long time about how much money he spent on various like collector issues and whatnot, just going on and on and on. It's just, I spent $5,300 on this and on that, and it's worth this now, and blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. And it reached a certain point where it's just like, buddy, you gonna drop a little bit of that money here, or are we just supposed to be real impressed? Like, he didn't spend any money.
It's cool you want to stop by and chat for a bit, but you've been here for a minute and you're talking about just dumping hard cash. So like, am I your customer, or you just want to you just trying to find someone who's got no one on their table at the moment, so you can brag.
It was one of my I meet a ton of awesome people at cons, and I met a guy at this last con, and he came by and he had his whole family. I'm talking like, I'm pretty sure he had, his kids were there. I think I saw him walking around with somebody who must have been either, a partner or something, probably a sibling out there. I'm pretty sure I saw his mom with him. It was just like generations that this dude brought. He was there for a long time. He kept by my table and he looked at everything and he's asking me questions about this or that. And he says, okay, I got to think about it. I'll be back. And I know what that means. A lot of times they don't come back, and that's fine. It is what it is. But I said, okay, I hope, I'll keep an eye out for you. I hope to see you again. He says, I'm going to come back. I want to buy one of everything. I said, okay. He came back later and he bought one of everything. And it was very cool. But he had a couple of kids with him who, as it turned out, were triplets. but I didn't see all
Mm.
three of them together until the end of the day. One
Okay.
of them was cosplaying, and another one was not. And it was like I saw what I thought was the same guy walk by like in quick succession. Just being like, did he like do like a quick change somewhere? So yeah, they had their fun with me on that. But again, this was the thing where it was like he bought everything on the table, and he's like, I want to get a picture. And so I come out and I take a picture with like literally like this entire extended family of like 12 people and just like all my books and stuff. And I said, I gave him my card, said, send me a copy of that picture. I haven't seen it yet. So,
Okay.
Sergio, if you're, his name is Sergio. Sergio, if you're listening to the show for whatever reason, please send me a copy of that photo because I want to put it on my wall. It was a proud moment for me. But yeah, that was like kind of the opposite of the bad experience, because I feel like I am actively working on like being an optimistic person. It's not what I naturally trend towards. So it's like it's easy for me to tell the story about the guy who talked my ear off about how much money he has and then didn't buy a book. But it's like I got to remember all the people who did come by and were really cool and were really awesome and did buy books. And it's like at this show's going up on the 15th.
Yes, I believe
Thereabouts?
so. Yes.
Okay,
15th.
by then I will be restocked. As of right now, I'm actually sold out of this book at time of recording, but they're supposed to come in on the 14th. So when this goes up, I will have them. They will be off back
if
order.
for any reason it's delayed, just let me know, and I'll make sure this does not go up until you're ready.
That'd be cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not too precious about release dates.
I'm still taking orders. It's just that they're. I mean, I've even put it in the store listing that they're currently on back order, and they'll ship as soon as they go out. But yeah, it was. I always have a good time with the cons, and sometimes the funnier stories are the ones of some the weird folks. But we're all weird, so there's a lot of good stories about the weird folks.
I don't fault any. I don't fault anybody if they're at my table and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna come back. Oh yeah, I get it. You're being.
It's a big show. They're all big shows.
You're being nice. I don't care. It's fine. Or if it's just that you're just looking at. Oh no, I'm just looking. Or, oh, that's all fine. That's all fine. What, and again, I have I'm assuming it's a genetic tendency to be pissy, pessimistic, and I work very hard to be the opposite of that. So it is very much like, oh, you're going to sit here and talk my ear off. Great. Like, so what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it's not like it starts out that way, of course. It's like, oh no, let's have chat, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But it's like when the person's there for like extended amount of time and like, it's just like, okay, I am trying to run a business here.
That really only gets to me if there's like a line forming, or if there's people. Well, yeah,
and I'm seeing people like I'm seeing someone who's looking, and I want to like talk to them, but then this person's really trying to keep my attention. And I do occasionally go to shows where I'm not tabling, and I'm like, and I'm catching up with folks and all that, and I'll make sure to step aside, or if someone's at the table, I'm like, oh no, go ahead, we're just chatting, whatever. But I'm not saying it's right to feel that way. I'm saying it's my familial tendency, that I've inherited, apparently, just to be a little cranky bastard about everything. So I'm trying really hard to be positive. It's getting easier as I get older, but it's also still pops up from time to time. But you know what? Something that I can remain positive about all the time. That's Comics, Coffee, and Metal. So, Mr. Brendan, Comics, Coffee, and Metal, what have you been digging lately?
Yeah, let me tell you, I got a few things that I can talk about. I was recently gifted 2 books by the mangaka Go Tanabe. They are adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft stories. So I've got The Shadow over Innsmouth and The Dunwich Horror. I think it's The Dunwich Horror. I'm reading Shadow over Innsmouth right now, and The Dunwich Horror, or whatever the second one is, will be next on the list. So I don't have it on the stack at the moment. But those are beautiful, beautiful adaptations. And I'm a big Lovecraft head, or at least I was back in the day. It's something that I've kind of moved on from in a lot of ways now, but it still is like it's highly influential. There's a lot of talk about death of the artist in popular culture now. And I think that Lovecraft is somebody who is like, that's an appropriate application of death of the artist, because he is dead. He was not ever financially successful while he was alive. He had a lot of troubling points of view and poor themes that made it into his work. But we're far enough removed from that now that you can kind of take out the things that are good and push the things to the side that are bad, and we can get along with it. And I think that having adaptations like this that are just like so lush and focusing on the good elements of the stories, the atmospheric elements of the stories, and kind of sweeping away some of the more objectionable elements is a great way to kind of enjoy those stories again with fresh eyes and not have to worry about running across something that's going to make you go, ugh. So I've really been enjoying that, and will continue to until I read it. Read the rest of it.
I'll have to check that out, because
yeah, dude.
I do remember the last time we spoke, and I shame on me, I still have not. But it was coming off like a run of just like everyone talking about how much manga they loved and all these other things, and just reminding me of like, just I really need to delve into some of this stuff and check it out. But like, finding the like, well, what book do I want to start with? And there's so many great recommendations everybody has. Like, this really feels like something that's probably more up my speed.
It very well could be.
It's a story I'm familiar with.
It's a gateway manga.
Yeah, it's a gateway manga. I need my gateway manga. So I'll definitely have to check that out, because it sounds really cool.
He did Mountains of Madness too,
which
I think was the first one that he did of those. And then I've been I got a bunch of comics that John Escobalos gave to me recently that I've just been going through, and one of them is Liam Sharp's Spawn: The Dark Ages, which is what he did right before his Conan run. And I just kind of like flipped through them to look at the art, because Liam's a fantastic artist, and I got to come back and like give it more of a close read. There's a funny story behind that. Is you read that Spawn comic and you're just like, this is just a Conan book. And apparently it was supposed to be a Conan book. He was offered Conan, and he wrote this 6-issue story, and then they tried to lowball him, and he said, nope, I don't. I know what I'm worth, and no thank you. And he went and he did it for Spawn, and then they kind of saw what he did with Spawn. It's just like, oh, we should have kept that guy, and that's when they brought him back to Conan. And it's like, you know what you're worth, and you stick to it. But he's got just these amazing scenic pages that he does, and these giant murals,
just lush.
And
it's just like a lush artwork,
And it was one of those things where I'm looking at these, and he's got these amazing full page illustrations, and then he just kind of divides them up with the panel lines, and I'm reading through this and I'm just like, the balls on this guy to like just draw that little white line across the page. I love it. You got to respect it.
I've been a fan of Liam Sharp's ever since Death's Head stuff, like back in the 90s. Like it's just and just to see like the work he's had. I am totally spacing on it, but he had a very successful Kickstarter book, I believe, that kind of just like started this secondary like renaissance of like him doing Spawn and then the Conan stuff. And I think he was on Wonder Woman for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be.
He did something. I might be mistaken on that, but regardless, it was just like this whole new influx of just like seeing his stuff pop up everywhere, and it's just a reminder of just how talented he was. But yeah, that takes some confidence in your work.
No, that's something I really definitely appreciate now.
And he pulled it off.
Yeah, yes, he did.
Clearly,
yes,
he pulled it off.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I feel like I talk about manga all the time. It's just like I have like a laundry list of. And you can go watch the other episode I did. I'm sure I could say a lot of the titles that I would say now. But yeah, if I had to pick like one manga thing and one Western thing, that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Coffee wise, I still drink it every day. I'm back to 2 cups a day, which is it's fine. It's my last
because I think you had like the 1 cup in the
morning.
Pour over a French press.
Yeah, I used to do the French press.
It was like your treat.
yeah. And now I have the instant in the afternoon just to keep me rolling, which is something I started doing when I was working on the remaster of this book, and now I just do it every day. But in terms of metal stuff, I brought my playlist, my MARU
Yeah.
KIRU playlist that I put together for the book, and it's got a lot of the artists that I talked about last time I was on the show, and it's got some new ones that some of them are metal and some of them aren't. But it's mostly a metal playlist because that's kind of the vibe of the comic. But I don't know if you have an image that you can.
Yeah, I'll pop up the image of the. Let's put some work to editing down.
Yeah,
the playlist is coming up right now.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of great stuff on there, and I was kind of going through it, in order. Just some of the stuff I was familiar with, some of the stuff I was not. Most of it, to be honest, I was not. But
well, we get to broaden our horizons.
Or stuff where it's like, oh, I think I've heard this before. Because I remember last time we pronounce his name Sludgage.
Sludgage. Yeah.
But overall, like the main thing I can just say about this playlist, like it is just a vibe that really sets the book. Like every track is just like, just like I keep repeating myself saying the word, but it really is just like it settles you in, and there is like some pretty fair, I think, disparity in terms of like the styles of what's going on.
Yeah, it's pretty eclectic
for sure. I mean, because Red
it's
Fang,
the music I listen.
And Dio, and Deftones, and then you toss in Hanabi, and then the Sword, and Echo, and with Echo and the Bunnymen. But it all fits though. It all fits the book.
Yeah,
and it all fits. It all fits the feeling of what's happening here. I mean, you could have just picked any of these artists, to be honest, and just had it all of them, and it would probably still work.
I could.
But the fact that there's such disparate, shifts with such big shifts with the genre within the genre of the metal and the metal adjacent stuff and all that it still fits. I think it just really speaks to how kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where like you look at the book, you think, okay, big angry woman, sword, action, got it. But then you read it more and you see there's more to it. There's more in there. And so like there is this bigger variety within it that, this playlist that you put together really serves, I think.
Yeah. Thank you. I think like you said, I feel like pretty much every artist on the list is somebody who I could have built a full playlist for the book out of. And it's the music that I listen to when I'm working, for the most part. And some of it was like, some of it's not in heavy rotation for me anymore, but it was at the beginning of the comic. And so I was really kind of trying to think back to what I was listening to when I was first working on it. And a lot of it is stuff that's like stuff that's like really brand new. Like Ivory is somebody who I just started listening to this year. And she's got a lot of really cool stuff, and she kind of bills herself as a pop artist, but I think she's like, I would call it like Deftones adjacent, a lot of her stuff. And Hole in the Moon is kind of one of the tamer tracks that she does. I mean, she was famous for the viral Tower Memory song that was on everywhere on TikTok for like months. I'm sure you've heard it.
No, I don't have TikTok. Man.
Good for you.
I get my TikToks. I get my TikToks through Instagram reposts. When it gets reposted a few weeks later on Instagram, and it pops up, and then I wait for it to show up on Facebook Reels, and then I can send them to my wife.
She did this song called Tower Memories that was like, it blew up on TikTok and it was everywhere. And that was my first exposure to it. And said, this sounds a lot like Deftones, which I was a huge Deftones fan when I was in college. So I looked her up her other stuff, and it's like, the first album, Theory of You, is like, it's short, but it's like, it's really solid, and it's like, this is cool. She's got another album out that I haven't listened to yet, but something I'm gonna go back and check on. But that's like the brand new thing that I kind of put in there. And then, like I said, Deftones on there too, because that's, like, when I was first doing comics at all, Deftones was like all I was listening to, and they were like joke strips for the college newspaper that I was the editor for. So, but it's still, it's all in the same sphere. So, but
yeah, I mean, rarely is it that anything I'm listening to matches what it is I'm drawing anyway.
sure.
I've made this joke before, but it's true. It's like when I'm like drawing like the most gnarly stuff, it's usually like the most poppy or synth wavy type stuff I have, and then all the real nasty, dirty metal stuff, real guttural stuff. It's like when I'm fucking buying vegetables at the grocery store.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
it's just two different use cases, I guess. I rarely actually listen to a lot of metal when I'm working, mostly because I listen to it all the other times.
Right.
So when I am working, it's just like it's
something
just a
else.
break from that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the one thing that I listened to a lot working on the book that didn't make the cut was Dope Smoker. Just because I didn't know where to draw the line on that one. I used to listen to that. I used to watch that. You ever seen that video where they sync it up with the Hobbit animated movie?
No, I did not.
Oh, that thing's boss. Yeah, you gotta check that out. It's it's an experience. But yeah, so I used to listen to Dope Smoker a lot when I was working on the book, but I was like, I don't know how the hell I'm going to fit that in there, so I just was not going to put
for a different book.
Yeah.
Well, when you take a break from MARU KIRU and do something different, I'm sure it'll pop up. It'll pop up in there for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But nice. The playlist is a lot of fun. I actually need to put together like an actual YouTube playlist that I can just link people to, so that I don't need. But you can hunt down every track individually as well. And there are 10 chapters in the book. There's 10 songs on the playlist. Pace yourself accordingly.
Well, again, like I said, it's a really great variety in here. Again, stuff I wasn't super familiar with, stuff I was. I am a fan of Red Fang. That's just good stuff. Period. Sword. We all had a sword phase, I think, at some point. But yeah, but like again, some of the newer stuff, we're just like, I'm aware of Hanabi, just I don't know all their stuff. So
it's actually Hanabi.
Hanabi.
I have to. It's like I've been saying that because I speak a tiny bit of Japanese, but it's something that I had to look up because I'm like, maybe I'm saying it wrong. But I looked at it, it's like, no, because that E on the end, you do say it, because Hanabi is also a Japanese word that means fireworks, but that's not the name of the band. And they actually put a video on their YouTube channel where the drummer is like, this is how you say it. So.
All right. Sorry, my dirty American accent did it wrong.
You learn a little bit of something new every day, right? But no, they're among my very favorites. And they're the only group that appears on the list twice. So
yeah,
I'll show you that. But
well, if you are feeling like digging into something that I feel like is like Deftones adjacent, but like more on the heavier side, there's a band called Loathe.
Okay.
That I think would be up your alley, and also, they popped a little bit a while ago, but this band called Zeal and Ardor.
Oh, I've heard it. I've at least heard the name before.
Yeah. I think those fit like that vibe of just like. Yeah. It could be that real like haunting kind of sound, but it can also get they can also have stuff that's super aggressive, stuff that's just kind of like a little out of left field here and there. Mainly with Zeal and Ardor, they tend to experiment more around with stuff, but Loathe definitely I think is like the more modern, heavier, like Deftones type stuff.
Nice, yeah.
As opposed to There's a few great tracks in there. I'll try to remember to send them along your way.
Please, no, I appreciate that
and all that, because they definitely I think fit that vibe and all that. So
cool,
for sure. Well, Brendan, I have to cut it short today for myself. Yeah, no, I really apologize about that. Usually we babble on for quite a bit more, but them's the breaks here. But I'm so glad you were able to come back on and talk about MARU KIRU.
Yeah,
First Heresy. Everyone, please go check it out. Make sure there's links to the show notes below. You can find the book. You can find your website, and if you get around to like putting it Spotify playlist of the songs, or
Oh
Apple
yeah,
playlist,
yeah.
or whatever it is. I'll make sure I link whatever you got for me to link out. I'll have it linked all in the show notes, including all your socials and all that.
Awesome.
So once again, Brendan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a great time, and let's do it again next year, right?
it's. I'll set my watch to it. I'll put it on the calendar.
Awesome. Thank
April's
you so
with
much.
Brendan.
Yeah.